Pull the string inside. Jake hesitates for a moment, then finally chooses a box and pulls the cord. Inside, there's a shotgun. The host thanks him for participating, and then says he's about to pull his string too. A second later, the toy shotgun fires, and Jake dies instantly. Cut to somewhere else. Four friends arrive at a vacation house. The place used to belong to James's uncle, who took his own life after his wife lost everything in bad investments. During the day, they try to keep things light and celebrate Anita's birthday. But later that night, things slow down. James suggests they play truth or dare. Anita doesn't like the idea and decides to sit out, clearly not trusting him. Then suddenly, they hear a noise from outside. Matthew brushes it off at first, saying it's probably nothing. But then it happens again. This time, everyone goes quiet. Out of nowhere, James jumps in and scares them, laughing like it was all a joke. Anita still doesn't feel right about it. She even suggests calling the police. Anyway, James grabs a fire poker and decides to check outside. But as soon as he steps out, the others turn off the lights, forcing him to use his phone flashlight. He starts looking around in the dark, and then suddenly, he hears a scream. He stops for a second, but then realizes it's just Melissa trying to scare him back. A little later, James finds something in the bushes and brings it inside. It turns out to be a camera with a tape in it. James gets curious and wants to watch it, but Matthew feels uneasy about it. Anita immediately says bringing it inside was a bad idea. Then the conversation turns tense when James brings up the house's owner. Anita snaps back, saying no one actually likes him. They just stick around because of his money. Before things calm down, she grabs the tape and smashes it. James gets furious. He yells at her to get out of the house, and even takes a cheap shot, mocking her about her sick mother. That crosses the line. After that, the group splits up and heads to their rooms for the night. But at the same time, someone else enters the house. A shadowy figure quietly slips inside without anyone noticing. Meanwhile, James is in the shower. Suddenly, the bathroom door slowly creaks open. Startled, he grabs a razor and gets ready to defend himself. But it's just Melissa again. She starts teasing him, hinting that she might be into him. But the moment James reveals what's under his towel, she bursts out laughing and admits she was just messing with him. At the same time, Matthew is downstairs, cleaning up the living room. That's when he notices something strange. The camera James brought earlier is now blinking with a red light like it's recording. He looks around, sensing someone might be there, but there's no one. Feeling a bit off, he heads upstairs. There, he finds Melissa unconscious. And nearby, Anita is also passed out. Now worried, Matthew starts calling out for James. But before he can react, someone comes up from behind and injects something into his neck. He panics and runs out of the house, but only makes it a short distance before everything goes black. After a while, all four of them wake up. They find themselves chained to a wall, with a camera right in front of them, recording everything. As they look around, they spot someone in the room. Their captor is there, calmly whistling, adjusting a few things. Then he steps out for a moment. James immediately starts struggling, trying to break free, but it's useless. At the same time, from another room, the kidnapper watches them through security monitors. A moment later, he comes back, and this time, he reveals himself. It's Barry. Without warning, he presses a button, and their chains suddenly tighten, digging painfully into them. Then Barry starts a countdown. As it hits 0, the lights turn on fully, revealing something strange. Around them, there are mannequins set up like an audience. Right after that, fake applause and music start playing through speakers. Barry begins introducing them like it's some kind of show. He names Anita, Matthew, Melissa, and then calls James a nerdy. As he talks, Anita starts to realize something's wrong. Barry knows way too much about them, even personal details he shouldn't know. Then he gives them a simple instruction: play rock, paper, scissors. They're confused and don't understand what's going on. But instead of explaining, Barry suddenly announces a commercial break and walks off to another room. In his dressing room, he starts going through a drawer but accidentally cuts his hand with a pair of scissors. Meanwhile, back in the room, James tries to make sense of it. He suggests this could all be some kind of staged prank, maybe even a reality show. But Anita shuts that down immediately, pointing out that no show would knock people unconscious like this. James still insists it has to be a joke, and even says he's the only one rich enough to pull off something like this. Not long after, Barry returns. This time, he pushes them again to play rock, paper, scissors. But the group can't agree, and it turns messy. So Barry changes the rules. He decides the women will go first. He tells Anita that if she wins, she'll get to choose a prize. Anita hesitates, then finally picks paper. But Barry messes it up and shows shoot instead. Realizing his mistake, Barry pauses for a second, then tells Anita she can choose again. Either scissors or shoot. She goes with shoot. But since Melissa had already played paper, Barry suddenly loses his temper. Out of nowhere, he slashes Melissa across the mouth with a card. Before anyone can react, he turns to Matthew, who picked rock, and hits him on the head with a stone. Then he moves to James and cuts off one of his fingers for choosing scissors. The whole thing spirals fast. Then, suddenly, Barry pulls out a pistol and fires it at Anita. But no bullet comes out, just a flash. Right after that, he grabs her and slams her hard against the wall. Hours later, Anita slowly wakes up. James is right next to her, crying in pain from his injured hand. A moment later, Barry walks back in. This time, he points to a spinning wheel fixed to the wall. He calls it the Wheel of Pain. Now completely shaken, the group starts begging him to stop, but Barry ignores them. Instead, he announces a bonus round. He says anyone who confesses the worst thing they've ever done will either be set free or killed. Then he decides to start with James. James hesitates, clearly scared to say anything, so Barry lightly hits him in the groin with a cane, just to push him. Finally, James gives in. He admits that he was involved in a car accident, but his father took the blame for it. And because James didn't call an ambulance in time, a woman named Ashley died. Next, Anita finally speaks. She admits that in the past, she ran an adult website to earn money for her mother's surgery, something she deeply regrets now. After that, Matthew confesses that he used to run online scams, targeting innocent people for money. Melissa also opens up, revealing that she sells pit bulls to illegal dogfighting rings, even though she uses that money to support her dog shelter. Barry listens to all of it, then tells Melissa to spin the wheel. When it stops, he brings out a viewfinder. He explains the game. If she can correctly name 3 famous cities from the images shown, she'll be set free. Melissa starts off well. She correctly identifies New York, then Paris. But when the 3rd image appears, she struggles and gets it wrong. Barry immediately says she has to be punished. The others panic and beg him to give her one more chance. After a moment, Barry agrees. Melissa tries again. But this time, as soon as she presses the button on the viewfinder, a sharp needle shoots straight into her eyes. Everyone is horrified. After that, no one else wants to go near the wheel, so Barry decides to spin it himself, this time for James. The challenge changes again. Barry picks up a drill and tells James he has to chase him around the room. At the same time, he casually mentions that he doesn't like James because he talks too much. Then he flips a coin to decide the outcome. James gets lucky and wins, but it doesn't end there. Barry suddenly hands the drill to Anita and tells her she has to drill into Matthew's ear. If she refuses, he says he'll do the same to Melissa and James instead. With no real choice, Anita gives in. She uses the drill on Matthew's ear, causing him intense pain. Once it's done, she drops the drill, and it breaks on the floor. Barry immediately starts yelling at her for breaking the rules. Then his mood shifts, and he almost sounds upset, saying that was the only drill he had. After that, he walks back to his office. He removes the tape from the camera, writes Matthew's name on it, and places it neatly alongside several other tapes in his dressing room. Barry comes back later and says this round will be different. A screen lights up with the words Game Wildcard, and he starts explaining the rules. Each of them will answer a question, and whoever scores the highest wins. Barry says he asked 100 people which body part hurts the most. Matthew answers head, Melissa says knees, Anita goes with stomach. Meanwhile, James keeps trying to reach Barry, but the chain keeps pulling him back down. Barry gets irritated and says his real pain is dealing with the 4 of them, since they're not playing properly. Then he reveals the answers. First is head, second is muscles, third is neck, and fourth is legs. Matthew quickly points out that those answers don't even add up to 100. Barry pauses, confused, then finds another paper. This one says stomach, and it ranks higher than muscles. That changes everything. Now Melissa has the lowest score, which means she loses. Barry immediately pulls the chains tighter and turns on a machine nearby. A hydraulic press starts moving, lowering a heavy ramp right above Melissa's head. But just before it comes down, Barry stops it. He announces a bonus round and asks if anyone wants to switch places with her. No one says a word. Melissa starts begging for her life, but it doesn't change anything. Barry restarts the machine, and the ramp comes down, crushing her head. After that, he calmly removes the tape, picks up Melissa's body, and walks out of the room. In his dressing room, Barry finally takes off his mask. Then, without hesitation, he starts cutting his own face. It becomes clear. Every time he kills someone, he adds a new scar to mark it. Back in the room, James keeps pulling at his chain. After a few tries, he hears something off, like something inside has slightly loosened. Not long after, Barry returns with the TV. He plays a video showing a woman named Rebecca tied to a chair. Then he sits in front of Anita and removes his mask. Anita immediately apologizes, but he doesn't react. He just puts the mask back on. On the screen, the video continues. Barry uses a chainsaw and brutally kills Rebecca. After he leaves again, James says the man looks familiar. That's when Anita brings something up. She thinks Matthew might already know she lied earlier about the adult website. Matthew admits it. He knew. Then he reveals the truth. Anita used to work on a show, The Barry Miller Show. James immediately turns on her, blaming her and demanding answers. So Anita finally explains everything. Barry Miller was once a famous game show host, and she worked as part of the crew. One day during lunch, she was with her co-workers, Jake and Rebecca, when they saw a news report about a talk show host named Colin Piper, who had been charged with sexual assault, but within a day, the alleged victims had withdrawn their statements. Rebecca and Jake said this kind of thing happens all the time. Victims get paid large amounts to stay quiet. Anita wondered if it was also possible that some people were falsely accusing others for money. Jake mentioned that one of the women who made accusations was now driving a luxury SUV, which made it look like money might have been involved. Rebecca then added that companies often quietly remove problematic people just to protect their reputation. She suggested Anita could do the same with Barry, especially since the payout could easily cover her mother's surgery. Before they could continue, Barry suddenly walked in, and everyone started applauding. He came over to them, thanking them for their hard work. Then he said he had a surprise for Anita. He started singing Happy Birthday and brought out a cake. The moment turned awkward as everyone slowly joined in, but when Barry placed his hands on Anita's shoulders, Rebecca quickly stepped in and told him not to touch her. Barry apologized, saying he was just thanking her, and then walked away. After that, Rebecca and Jay convinced Anita to file an official complaint. In the end, the company offered her a settlement deal in exchange for signing a confidentiality agreement and leaving her job. Fast forward to the present. Barry comes back, and James immediately starts begging. He insists he's innocent and tells Barry to punish Anita instead. He even tries to bargain, saying his family has money and influence. But Barry doesn't care. He calmly tells James that he'll send his severed head to his father. Then, to make things worse, he brings out the decapitated head of the company's legal advisor and forces Anita to eat part of it. That's when James pulls at his restraints with everything he has, hard enough to break free from the wall. Grabbing the chain, he rushes at Barry and knocks him down. But before he can do anything more, Barry activates something. An electric current runs through all the chains at once, knocking all three of them unconscious. Sometime later, they wake up again. This time they're strapped to surgical tables. They quickly notice fresh cuts on their stomachs. Barry explains the next challenge. He says he's surgically placed keys inside both Matthew and James, but only one key will actually work. Anita refuses to take part. Barry responds by threatening to starve them if she doesn't. James, still desperate, tries to convince her to choose Matthew instead. At first, Anita hesitates, looking at Matthew, but then she makes a decision. She turns to James and cuts into his abdomen, pulling out the key while he screams in pain. James dies. Anita quickly takes the key and tries to unlock the door, but it doesn't work. Barry reveals the truth. The door was never going to open. It's sealed no matter what. He then says only later, Anita wakes up. The room is empty and the door is slightly open. She slowly gets up and steps out, carefully looking around. She makes her way to the dressing room, where she sees rows of videotapes, each one labeled, likely from previous victims. Trying to stay quiet, she grabs one of the cards lying nearby. In the bathroom, she washes the blood off her hands, taking a moment to steady herself. Then she moves down a dim hallway and enters another room. That's where Barry is waiting. He tells her it's time for one final game. Shaking, Anita sits down in front of 3 boxes. She looks at him closely and asks if it's really him. Barry coldly replies that Barry is already dead and that she's the one who killed him. Anita tries to reason with him. She says she's the only one who can fix this, the only one who can give him his life back. She promises to go public and admit everything she did, but Barry doesn't react. That only makes her more uneasy. Suddenly, he snaps. He accuses her of ruining his life, saying he lost his job, his reputation, and his family because of her. Then he forces her to choose one of the boxes. Anita agrees, but only after making him promise that he won't harm her mother. After a brief pause, she slowly pulls one of the strings. Inside the box, there's a birthday cake. Barry then starts singing Happy Birthday. Seizing the moment, Anita grabs the card and slashes Barry across the face, then makes a run for it. She rushes outside, but before she can get far, Barry activates a taser and drops her to the ground. As she struggles, Barry calmly explains that every scar on his face represents a person he's killed, and the cut she just gave him means she's now one of them. He wraps a chain around her and drags her back into the house. Inside, he forces her head down into the birthday cake. At first, Anita panics, thinking there might be something hidden inside it. But when she realizes there's nothing there, she actually feels a brief sense of relief. Barry then tells her she's free to go, since the cake is ruined. But a second later, something feels wrong. Her face suddenly starts burning. The cake was laced with some kind of corrosive chemical. Anita screams as the pain takes over. Her vision fades, her eyes turning red as she stumbles around, completely blinded. Within moments, she collapses, her body shaking violently, until she finally dies. Barry quietly sits beside her, softly singing the theme song from his shell. Then he plays another tape. This time, it shows him torturing a talk show host, forcing him to confess that he assaulted multiple girls before Barry finishes him off with a hammer. And with that, the movie ends. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.